Welcome everybody to Abundant Life Chapel online. We're so glad that you could join us today. If you'd like to know more information about us, you can check us out on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and any other contact information that you need can be found on our website. Special thanks to those who have been supporting us financially. You can continue to do so by downloading the app Tithely and also through our website. I hope today's message will inspire you and build your faith. From the darkness, I called your name. Into darkness, your mercy came. You called me out, lifted me up. How great is your love? You bore my weakness, you took my shame, buried my burdens in fields of grace. You called me out, lifted me up. How great is your love? Heaven, you stepped down to earth, innocent perfection, gave your life for us, and we are amazed. Yes, we stand in awe, girl, we have been changed by the power of the cross. How great, how great, how great is your love? How great, how great, how great is your love? How great, how great, how great is your love for us? In your kindness, you lead me home. In your presence, where I belong, you lift me up, lifted me up. How great is your love? From the heights of heaven, you stepped down to earth, innocent perfection, give your life for us, and we are amazed. Yes, we stand in awe, for we have been changed by the power of the cross. How great, how great, how great is your love? How great, how great, how great is your love? How great, how great, how great is your love for us? How great, how great, how great is your love? How great, how great, how great is your love? How great, how great, how great is your love for us? There's never been, there will never be a God like you, a love so true. There has never been, there will never be a God like you, a love so true. There has never been, there will never be a God like you, a love so true. There has never been, and there will never be a God like you, a love so true. And how great, how great, how great is your love? how great is your love for us. How great is your love. How great is your love. How great is your love for us. How great is your love. How great is your love. How great is your love for us. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and oh, we'll see how great is our God. Sing it again. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and oh, we'll see how great is our God. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of all praise, and my heart will sing, how great is our God. You're the name, yeah. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of all praise, and my heart will sing, how great is our God. Sing together now, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, see how great is our God. You are great. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, we'll see how great is our God. God, you're so good in this moment, in our anxious and our weakness. We know you are there. Whatever fears and troubles that we have, we know you can be with us. God, in these hard moments, we know you are there. And that's why we sing how great you are, because we know we can overcome. No matter what, we can lean on you, because we know how great you are. We can sing about it, praise about it, because that's who you are. Great God. We thank you for who you are.
Today, we have a treat for you. Joanne Goodwin will be sharing on a topic that I think we can all relate with: feelings of being forsaken or feeling abandoned. Joanne is a wonderful human being who uses her incredible gift of humor and personal experiences to talk about mental health. I believe her message today will bring encouragement and healing to many.
Hi, thanks for letting me into your home today. I've got my coffee here and everything is good. I hope you've got yours, going to be together for a few minutes. I'm just so pleased that the drive over here this morning was uneventful. Many times things are not uneventful when I get in the car. I don't know what it is. I think cars have something in for me. And I do believe that garage doors are made too narrow. You cannot always get in and out of them without banging the sides. This is what I have found to be true in my life. In fact, I felt so bad the other day. I had had so many bangs on it before. It's not wide enough. And I try to be careful, and I bang one side, and then I'm watching one side, and I bang the other side. And Joe finally had it all fixed up, and everything was looking good. And then just day before yesterday, I did it again. I just felt sick about myself. I was so upset. I know some of you are thinking, boy, if that had been my spouse, I would have either divorced them or at the very least locked them up. I know. But I felt so bad about myself. Sometimes stupid stuff happens and you feel bad and, But then there's things in life that happen that are so much more painful than that. Deep, heavy things happen in our lives. I had clinical depression most of my life. Suicide plans already. I've still got a few set aside. Life can be painful. And I had a child that was involved in drug addiction for many years. And the pain from that was numbing, terrifying, nightmare stuff. I remember walking in the grocery store and just walking down the aisle feeling numb and trying to remember what I was doing there and what I wanted. I couldn't even think clearly. I know how painful things can be, whether you have clinical depression or whether you're just feeling discouraged or you've hit a wall and you're at a really hard place in your life. These principles have helped me, and perhaps they'll help you too. When my kids were young, I'm guessing maybe 35 years ago, I was feeling the depression. I was still functioning, but I was feeling depressed. And I went to hear a Good Friday message at a church, and Reverend Bill Griffin, one of the greatest thinkers, I think, in our denomination, preached about what do you do when you feel forsaken? He talked about Jesus on the cross in his great pain and how he handled it and what he did when he cried out some of the saddest words in Scripture, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he said, if some of you ever felt that way, and he had me, because I'm thinking, yeah, I have. I know he hasn't, but yes, I have felt that, and he had me. And I don't think, some people say that God forsook Jesus on the cross. I don't believe that for a minute. We had some great discussions in seminary with my professor about this. But there's no way he was forsaken. God was working out the entire plan of salvation. This was, in fact, the climax of his redemption, of his redemptive plan. He was causing the earth to shake and ripping the veil in the temple, and he was busier, as it were, than he had ever been. And yet, Jesus, in his humanity, felt the break. He felt forsaken by the Father. Now, Jesus, he was all God and he was all man. He was the God-man. What does that mean? I don't know. But that's what we are taught. He is all God and he was all man. And in his humanity, for the first time in all of eternity, the sin that was laid on him caused him to feel forsaken by the Father. And so I'm suggesting, as Reverend Griffin did, that some of the things that Jesus did when he was in that state can help us when we too are feeling forsaken and we don't know where to go and we don't know what to do. One of the first things Jesus did was he looked after his family. Remember in John 19, there's the story where Jesus looked down from the cross and he said, Mom, John will be like a son to you. John, look after Mom. In other words, he did the things he had been given to do. What is it that you are to do? I had little children at the time, and I thought, when I don't know what else to do, and I don't know what's happening, and I don't know why I'm feeling forsaken, make the lunches, feed the children, look after things to the best of your ability. Now, I know in the case of clinical depression, you can reach a point where you cannot do that. But as much as you can, there are times when you can do that. Or if you're just discouraged or things are just difficult and you want to just give up, continue to do the things you've been given to do. Look after the family. Continue with your responsibilities as much as you can. The next thing he did was he quoted the scriptures he'd learned since childhood. When he said, into thy hands I commend my spirit. He was quoting a scripture, and it was a prayer that Jewish mothers taught their little children to pray at night, just like we teach, now I lay me down to sleep. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. I'm in indescribable pain, or I'm so discouraged, I don't know what to do, but I remind myself, my life is in your hands. To live as Christ. Take this whole mess, it's yours. I'm going to trust you. Sometimes hard to say and do when you feel that way. But as much as you are able, continue to remind yourself and to say to him, I'm in your hands. I commend my spirit to you. Remember one time when my children were little and I was in such a deep depression and I didn't know what to do, and I was holding my Bible and walking through the house and crying and saying, you have loved me with an everlasting love. You have loved me with an everlasting love. I can feel it even now as I'm reminded. My son didn't know what to think, and he looked at me. He was about 6, and he said, Mother, he's kind of an odd child. He goes, Mother, there's water coming from your eyes. He didn't know what to do with seeing his mom in pain, and I didn't know what to do. But I reminded myself that I was in his hands and I was loved, and it was helpful. Another thing he did was he prayed for those who were even causing his pain. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Wow. In the midst of that kind of pain, to be able to relate to what was going on with people around him, and to make sure for ourselves when we do that, that we're not holding on to any unforgiveness or any anger that we can get rid of. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing to me. Good principle to remember. And then the last one is probably the one that surprises most of us, or surprised me the most. He ministered to those around him. And so you might be saying, you expect me when I'm feeling like this to minister to somebody? Yeah, you can. And again, I'm not loading guilt on the people who are going through clinical depression at its darkest days when you simply cannot do this. But many of us in times of discouragement or when depression is not yet at that place can minister to other people, can become aware of others, and to the point that we are able get our eyes off ourselves and see somebody else's pain and reach out to them. I mean, he looked at, the thief beside him, said, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Not, leave me alone. Can't you see what I'm going through? He reached out. He ministered. And you can. I remember one time in Montreal where we lived, I was feeling really low, but I was not yet to the point where I couldn't function. And I had some shopping to do, and I went downtown. My husband said he would pick me up, so there was a monument in the park in the middle of downtown, and I was sitting there waiting for my husband to get me. And while I was sitting there, a man stumbled up. He was probably homeless, and he was, I think, also a little bit drunk. And just a very sad-looking individual. And he came up and plunked himself beside me where I was sitting, and he said, "Have you got any money? Because I'm hungry." I said, "I don't. I always give some if I have it. I had nothing." I said, "I'm so sorry, I don't." I said, "But Jesus really, really loves you, you know." And he said, "Yeah? Well, what's he ever done for me? Because I'm hungry." I said, "Well, then, if you're hungry, then you tell him. Tell him you're hungry. Talk to him." And I guess he was just drunk enough to be able to do that, feeling uninhibited enough, and he threw his head back, and a big tear came down his face, and he said, "Okay, well, God, well, I'm hungry. So what are you going to do?" And I said, "If you meant that, and you weren't just putting that on for me, God heard you. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know he heard you. You keep talking to him. You keep that communication up, and God will begin to speak to you and show you himself." And some of you are thinking, "Okay, Joanne, that's pretty risky because, like, what if you say that and then, like, nothing happens? God's going to look bad." And, don't worry about God. He's just fine. He can look after himself. The only thing that would have been stupid was if I had said, "You pray, and I tell you a roast beef dinner is going to appear before your eyes." Well, that's stupid, because I have no idea if something like that is going to happen. But you see, I do believe that God hears the cry of every broken heart. So whether something miraculous happens right away or whether that begins something in his heart, I don't know. All I know is God heard him. And you can take that to the bank. So I told him that. Well, just seconds later, I don't care if I ever saw what God did. I believe what I just said. But I did get to see. Out of the blue, this man comes walking along the sidewalk. Nice business suit, briefcase, looked like he was well off. And I guess we caught his peripheral vision, fat housewife and a drunk. Makes you look. And he looked over, and he walked over to us. And he held up this bag. He said, "I was just in the deli." He said, "I picked up some bread and cold meat." He said, "I don't have time to eat this. Could you use it?" I said, "See? You see?" I was so overwhelmed that I got to see something up close and personal. Like, I know God created the world, and I know he parted the Red Sea, and he healed the blind man. I know all those stories, and they're wonderful. But I got to see up close and personal God stop what he was doing and feed a homeless man. I was still in that state of mild depression, but this brought light and brought hope and lifted my spirits. I saw God working. Regardless of how I was feeling, God works. And so I'm suggesting that you can minister to other people. When I was working at McGill University, I was going through a depression. I didn't know how long I'd be able to keep working. I was just not doing well at all. But I can, for the most part, put on a happy face and continue what I was doing. But my job became very stressful because of how I was feeling. So what I would do is I would go in early every morning, and as I walked into that building at McGill, I would say to myself, since the presence of Jesus lives in me, then I am the presence of Jesus entering this building at McGill. Changes my perspective. And what I would do is I would go around to everybody's office, grab their coffee cups, go into the kitchen and wash them. And as I'd wash each one, I would wash each cup, I would pray for the person. Oh, God bless Dan. Help me, Lord, to be aware if there's anything I should speak to him about. Oh, and Pina, God bless Pina. Father, and I would just pray for them all. And the amount of opportunities that came up while I was working there to speak about the love of Jesus. I don't mean preach at them. I don't mean getting weird. I mean just talking about how good Jesus has been. And I never lied. I never said, oh, since I've served Jesus, I just feel wonderful all the time and my life is full of joy, because it isn't. That would have been a lie. But I can say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm kind of weak emotionally or something, but I do know that Jesus loves me. And I do know that he gives me comfort. And I do know that he loves you. And sometimes I would pray with them or just tell them I was going to pray for them and just say what I could to offer hope. And you can do that when you're feeling down. And sometimes, as a matter of fact, I think you even feel people's pain more when you're suffering yourself. You can see suffering in other people's eyes when you too are suffering. And so there were just so many opportunities for me to speak to them and to offer comfort from the position I was in even. And so I guess what I mostly want to say to you is, if you're feeling that way, remember what Jesus did when he felt forsaken. He looked after his family. Continue with the things you're given to do. He prayed for those around him, even for the very people who brought him pain. He quoted the scriptures he'd learned since childhood. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. Keep giving your life over to God. I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. Remind yourself of those truths that you've learned. And minister to people around you whenever you can. And you can. I know sometimes it hurts and sometimes it's difficult to follow Jesus. But if I had had to go through this journey without him, I don't think I'd be alive today. I honestly believe that. I would not be alive today. The hope that I had has kept me alive. And so I guess I'm offering comfort and some scriptural principles that can help you. And I want to say to you what this song says. When you can't speak, when you can't even pray, please hear me when I say, the answers will come, but until they do, he carries you. He carries you. He does carry you. And you have not been forsaken. God bless you.